All right, you know what you're going to call your new startup. Now you need to buy a domain name for it, and you want that to be secure, and you don't want to cause problems down the line by doing that. You'd be surprised how many companies still have a domain name originally acquired on one of the founders' GoDaddy accounts, completely unprotected years ago. What we're going to do is we will do that at the beginning, buy a domain through an account that is linked to a personal email address, but the goal is for that to be secure while it exists, and then we're going to move that domain under your cloud infrastructure. So the first thing you need to do is you need to be sure the email address you're going to tie to the registrar, which is going to be Hover in this case, is secure. I highly recommend you use a Gmail account with passkeys or security keys as a second factor. The reason for that is the domain is the root of trust. And if someone can compromise your personal email account, then they can take over the domain and essentially take over the entire company. So make sure you've got a Gmail with proper two-factor or passkeys set up. And then you're going to create an account on a registrar. In my case, I like Hover for a few different reasons. The first one is, well, if you're old, you're going to remember a couple things from the internet. If you're really old, you've been on the internet for a long time, you're going to remember Tucows, which was a website where you could download a bunch of software. Canadian-American company. Hover is actually part of Tucows. So Tucows is still a thing. And the second one is, if you were around the internet around 2011, you might remember specifically that Bob Parsons at GoDaddy kind of likes to hunt elephants and not apologize for it. And so for those reasons, I like Hover, and it's got good two-factor as well. So when you create your account, make sure you're only using the email address that is secured, as we just showed. Make sure two-step is configured and that you enable sign-in notifications. So if anyone breaks into the account, you will know. And make sure you turn on Whois privacy and transfer lock by default. So any domain you buy in the future will be protected by that, even if you make a mistake and don't enable it. I believe that's the default for a brand new account, but my Hover account is really old, so who knows? So now we're going to go buy a domain. If anyone comments on the amount of domains I have, they get banned. If anyone comments on how rich I would be if I had invested that money at like 5% over the last 20 years, they also get banned. So we're going to buy a new domain. You want to get something that's on a TLD, top level domain, that is somewhat trustworthy for a couple of reasons. One is, are you okay with your future unicorn potentially having the root of trust to it controlled by some random small country? If not, stick with the classics. And keep in mind, if you want to use one of the fancy GTLDs, like a .zip, .plumbing, .pizza, or whatever, a lot of enterprise customers will actually block that, and so they won't be able to reach you. So try to shoot for a .com. So in my case, I simply asked ChatGPT, if CSI Cyber was still running, what would they call a Canadian APT crew? And it said Tundra Moose. So I'm going to check and see if tundramoose.com is available. Yes, it is. All right. So I'm going to buy it. It might suggest some other domains. If there's like a .net or .io or something pretty big you want to get, sure, feel free to do that. That being said, don't fall into the trap of trying to get every single domain that looks like yours to prevent phishing, because there's so many GTLDs now. It's pretty much impossible. And I mean, if you're a bank, you're going to have to do that, but not if you're a startup. So I've added it to my cart. There we go. 1 year. It's offering me a .online. I do not want the .online. And I am going to do my checkout. Now, you want to be sure you use legit info here, but keep in mind through the Whois privacy that we selected, this is not going to be visible. In the medium and long term, a real company shouldn't be using Whois privacy, but if it's a brand new startup, you're still using a personal account and all that, I just recommend turning it on at the beginning at least. But keep in mind, in the future, when you start landing customers, it actually looks kind of suspicious if a domain has a Whois privacy for an enterprise tool, let's say. So I'm going to buy it. There we go. It's been purchased. I'm going to manage the domain and double check that Whois privacy is on, transfer lock is on, so that makes it harder to transfer the domain to another registrar. For example, if your Hover account got compromised, and it is on auto renew. I always recommend turning on auto renew, because do you really want to risk not renewing a domain because you forgot about it? So these are all the right settings. And you'll notice that right now the name servers are Hover's name servers. You can use Hover to create DNS records for your domain. I recommend right away deleting the ones that it creates by default, because who cares about the parked page they'll create for you, and you're not going to use their email farting service. In the next video, we're actually going to configure Google Workspace. So we're going to configure DNS to point email to that and to authenticate email and all of that. But so now you've got a domain name that is protected with Whois Privacy, Transfer Lock, and Auto Renew. It's been purchased on a Hover account that is elephant cruelty free, that has two-factor on it and login notifications sent to your email. And the personal email you use to do that was protected by passkeys or security keys. And so you're in a pretty good position to use that domain for the next 6 months or so until it can be moved under your Route 53 or your GCP DNS or whatever you're going to use in the future. Stay tuned and subscribe if you want to be notified when the next episode drops, which will be about setting up Google Workspace with that domain we just acquired.